Scooterheads, it's the Electric Scooter Podcast International Edition. In this episode, Ecuador. That's right, I'm your host, Dagwood Streets, a man who moved from Hawaii to Las Vegas and needed an adrenaline replacement for surfing. And that's how I found electric scooters. In this episode, we're going to talk about Ecuador. I recently spent a month in this beautiful South American country. And I got to tell you, it's probably the best vacation I ever had. The people are friendly, funny. The scenery is stunning. There's waterfalls and rivers everywhere you go. It's basically divided into three different regions. You got the Amazon, which is hot and sweaty, and mosquitoes, and you've seen the Amazon, right? You know what National Geographic is? You know, if you don't know what the Amazon is, look into it. Not my cup of tea, but for some people, you know, it might be the thing for you. And then you have the mountains or the Sierras, and the people who live in the mountains are called Serranos. Yeah, like the chili pepper. When I heard Serrano, that's the first thing I thought of. But the people who live in the Sierras, they call themselves Serranos. And then you have the coast. Costas, I guess you'd say it in Espanolish. And that's really different too. Of course, it's going to be hotter. There are beaches, more seafood, although you can get seafood in the Sierras as well. But those are the three main areas. I was looking to escape the heat of Las Vegas, so obviously I went to the Sierras. I went to three cities: Otavalo, which is north of the capital, Quito. Spent a week up in Otavalo. It was fantastic. Spent a couple weeks in Quito. Actually, 3 weeks in Quito, and then a week down in Cuenca. I stumbled on Quito because I spent 2 weeks in Quito, a week in Cuenca, and then back up for another week in Quito. And I'll give you some of my impressions. But of course, when I'm down there, I'm looking to scoot, right? I'm looking for places to scoot. Before I left to go down there, I did my research. Everybody down there uses WhatsApp. I don't know if you know this, but different countries use different apps to communicate. In Asia, mainly Japan and Thailand, Malaysia, Philippines, those places, they use Line. They tend to use Line to message each other. And in Ecuador, they use WhatsApp. So I sent a bunch of WhatsApp messages out to folks, and I didn't get any response. So I figured, once I get down there, I'll figure it out. So my first town, after landing, of course, in Quito, was Otavalo, which is north of the capital city of Quito, headed towards Colombia. And I was told that there was one person in town with a scooter. I never met that person, never saw him on a scooter, but I was told there's one person in town with a scooter, so that was kind of a no-go. Made me wish I brought a scooter along with me, but that's tricky, getting a scooter on an airplane with a lithium battery, and that's a whole nother story. I'm looking at the Levy, L-E-V-Y. I posted a question on the Electric Scooter Guide forum regarding what scooters other people are using and whether they've traveled on airplanes with scooters, and pretty much crickets is what I got. I did get one or two responses. I want to make a quick plug for the Electric Scooter Guide forum. Go there, read what people are saying, respond to them, start your own questions. Let's get that thing going, because as far as I know, and probably as far as you know, that's all we got right now as far as forums. And I rely on forums, especially for technical issues. I'm not a handy person. And there are not a bunch of scooter shops popping up everywhere. People are buying them from China or distributors in the United States who buy them from China. So we really need the forums. Let's pump up the Electric Scooter Guide Scooter Forum, please. So Otavalo was a no-go, no-show, no joy, no scoot. I did see some scooters, to be honest. There are some of those scooters that they call shared rides or rental scooters. I didn't really look into it. I'm not a fan of those. I was looking for a place that would rent for like a week or 2 weeks or a month, something like that. Some sort of like the programs we've seen in the United Kingdom that I've spoke about on this podcast. That's really what I support more than going out in the morning with these big polluting trucks and laying them out around the city and then picking them up at the end of the day and people trashing them and you're using your credit card and you're in a foreign country. And do I need to keep going? I think you know where I land on this topic. But when I left Quito, I went to Cuenca, and I met a very interesting person down there. I was strolling down the boulevard, as I am oft to do. I was headed for the 10 de Agosto Mercado, or the 10th of August market, which was a story in itself. Just go to the Dagwood Streets YouTube channel if you want to see what that amazing place looks like. And you want to see fruits and vegetables you've never laid your eyes on before. But I don't want to digress too far. So I looked to my right, and boom, there it was, Travelisima. And I saw electric scooters. They had E-Move cruisers and some M365 knockoffs. And there was a very nice lady in there who I spoke to for a while who said the owner's in Galapagos for the time being, and he would be back on Wednesday. So I got his WhatsApp, and we communicated, and he said, yeah, man, I'll be riding a one-wheel, but let's hook up. And again, that's another YouTube video. If you want to see what that looked like, then go to the Dagwood Streets YouTube channel. Hey, I'm a podcaster, not a YouTuber, so don't expect Quentin Tarantino or some big highfalutin production. I basically strap a camera on and go and see what happens, and I throw some music to it. But if you want to see what the beautiful city of Cuenca looks like, check out that video. While we are going to land in Cuenca, probably there are some Scooterhead listeners who are not familiar with Ecuador, so let me give you a little bit of the layout. I talked about Costa, Sierras, and Amazonia, or Amazonas, or the Amazon. But let me lay out the three cities that I visited. So Quito is the capital. If you fly there, that's where you're going to land. The elevation, I'm sorry, I don't know the meters, but you'll get an idea when you compare the three cities as to which one is a little chillier, a little rainier. So the capital is 9,300 feet, while both Otavalo and Cuenca are at 8,300 feet. Otavalo, the north. Quito, a little bit south of Otavalo. It's about a 45-minute drive. And then Cuenca's in the south. So to get to Cuenca, you can either take a bus. I think it's like 12 hours, but you'll save a lot of money. It's $12, $14 or something like that, depending on what bus you get on. But when you're on vacation, you burn up a lot of time that way. So flying is $50 one way per person. So we decided to fly. So even though Otavalo and Cuenca are at the same elevation, Otavalo seemed to me, at least the time I was there, I don't know if it's representative, but I imagine it is because they're on the equator, so the weather doesn't change much. Otavalo was a little rainier. Otavalo and Quito, both in the afternoon, you'd start hearing boom, boom, maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon or so. And then people would start scattering in the streets, and then bam, the rain comes down really hard. Cuenca, from talking to locals, is a little bit less predictable as to when it's going to rain and when it's not going to rain. But I noticed my first day in Cuenca, it's a little bit flatter. Even though it's in the mountains, it is a little bit flatter. So depending on what type of scooter riding you like to do, I happen to like hills, but I have a Wolf Warrior. I have a couple Wolf Warriors which can handle the hills. So for walking and day-to-day scooting, Cuenca is maybe a little easier place just because it is a little bit flatter. It's still up in the mountains, but the city center itself is fairly flat, so it's a little easier to walk also. Cuenca has 4 rivers running through it. Just beautiful rapids running right through the town. And the weather, I don't know, it kind of reminded me of California for some reason. It just had more sunshine than Quito and Otavalo when I was there. They have beautiful paths that you can scoot alongside the river and a lot of cool places to go. They have lanes set aside for bicycles that they allow scooters to go through. Again, I made a video about when I met up with the owner and CEO of Travelisima. His name is Francisco Castro. Really nice guy, young guy, entrepreneurial. He was in the Galapagos. It was his first time in the Galapagos, which I don't know if you know this. I always think of Galapagos as Charles Darwin, and you just go there on a boat and kind of look at stuff. You don't really touch anything. But it's kind of like Ecuador's Hawaii. They do have tourism there. There are hotels. There are people who live there. It's not just swimming iguanas and giant turtles. It is a thriving place to live. But the rules there and the laws are extremely strict as to vehicles and taking care of wildlife and plant life and everything. The government of Ecuador realizes that it is a sensitive ecosystem they have set up, and they don't want to mess anything up. So you got to follow a bunch of rules. And it's about 4 times as expensive as the mainland Ecuador. But good news is mainland Ecuador is super cheap. I mean, you can get a full-on lunch. They call it almuerzo for $2.50. Is pretty typical. Some places $3, some places $2.25. But it'll give you rice, a meat, a potato, oftentimes a soup, and definitely a drink, some type of fruit juice, and then either tea or water. $2.50 on average. So if you go to Galapagos, you're going to pay $7 for that same thing. Still a good deal. So there I am on my way to 10 de Agosto, the Mercado, the famous Mercado, where they have whole pigs, lechon. They call it hornillo, and just giant pigs laid out there and crunchy skin and all that kind of stuff. Sorry, vegetarians. Ecuador is a meat-eating carnivore type of place. So I'm walking on my way to 10 de Agosto, the huge Mercado, of which there are 2 of them. And I look to my right, and I see Travelisima. I think I already said this earlier in the podcast. And talked to a lady, and anyways, she says that Francisco is in the Galapagos. I found out later that it was his first time in the Galapagos, even though he's born and raised there. It's not that crazy sounding because I'm sure there are a lot of Americans who've never been to Hawaii. It's a similar kind of thing, whereas Hawaii is more expensive than the mainland. You got to get on an airplane to go there. There are a lot of hoops you got to jump through. So, you can't expect that most Americans would have been there, but I was a little surprised for some reason that it was his first time. We scooted around Cuenca. He showed me some of the cool areas and pointed out some of the landmarks. Dagwood Streets channel on YouTube, you can see that stuff, like a washed out bridge where the water got so high. The oldest bridge in Cuenca was washed out, and they just left it there as a landmark. So I interviewed him, and again, I had all my luggage and everything I left in Quito. When I flew down to Cuenca, I didn't know that I was going to meet up with a fellow scooterhead. So I did have my camera, so I recorded the audio on my camera, but let me explain to you how the streets of Ecuador are laid out. If you've ever been to Latin America, Central America, or even a lot of places in Europe, the front doors to businesses are right on the street. So if a car stops at a stop sign and his shop, Francisco's shop, is on a corner, a guy could almost reach out of the car and touch the door to the business establishment. So you'll hear on the audio a lot of traffic noise and just ambient background street noise happening. And I'm recording on my camera's microphone, not my normal mobile podcasting equipment setup that I use when I go on location. I left that behind in Quito for some reason. I guess it's just because, like I said, I didn't anticipate I was going to hook up and ride scooters and get to do an interview. So the reason I gave you this whole preamble is to let you know that I had to manipulate the audio to make it listenable because of all the background noise. And I'll just do the best that I can. I'll interject and explain what's happening, and I may restate my questions rather than have you listen to the original audio because of the noise. I don't want you to be frustrated by that. So with further ado, with lots of ado, I would like to commence at this time the interview with Francisco Castro, CEO, founder, owner, manager of Travelisima scooter rentals in Cuenca, Ecuador. And let me point out that his prices are the same as in the U.S. and Europe. He also sells scooters, and he has some good scooters. He's got Dualtrons, E-Move Cruisers. The ones he rents are M365 replicas or clones. Nothing too exciting about that, but they will get you around. I mean, it is the world's most popular scooter. I don't know what to say about it. I personally wouldn't be my choice if I was going to go budget or have a scooter rental fleet. It would be Segway 9bot Max. But with ado, Francisco Castro. The Electric Scooter Podcast. It's happening now. Thank you for meeting with me and riding around the city. It was awesome. Yeah. If you want to check it out, you can look at the Dagwood Streets YouTube channel and see a little bit of that. Pleasure. But tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got started in this business. Are you from Cuenca? Maybe even tell me a little bit about Galapagos. You just got back from Galapagos, so I'll let you go ahead and speak. Okay, thank you. Nice to meet you, Dagwood. That is how is your name, right? Dagwood. Dagwood, yeah. I was telling you before the record that for me it's very hard to say the name. Yeah. And now I think that I got it. Okay. You don't have to use my name. Just say, hey, dude. Okay. All right. Well, the thing is that like a few years ago, I looked for on the internet, like I think that all that exists in the world is scooters. And I said, oh, scooters, what is that thing? I usually only drive cars, right? So at that point that I found on the internet, the scooters is more good for the world and for transportation.
I think I need to buy a scooter. So I started to look it up, all the kinds of scooters, and at that time I didn't know anything about the scooters.
And what did you? I use the Electric Scooter Guide. I listen to and watch and stay in communication, Ginger on Wheels, and different people like that. Are there Spanish resources, or were you watching mostly in English?
At first, I just start to look on Spanish on some of channels from Spain, but then I start to look all the scooters that was on the market here in Ecuador, and I was looking that the scooters on the market are not on internet, and I was thinking why? What the scooters that are on my market are not on internet? So I start to investigate more. So I found ESG channel on YouTube. So I started to know more about the scooters, like batteries, motors, kind of batteries, generic batteries, Chinese batteries, LG, Samsung, Panasonic, all that kind of things.
And the Korean ones are better than the Chinese.
Yeah,
Have you
yeah,
found
yeah.
that? Yeah.
So at that time I said, so maybe I don't have to buy a scooter now with all that information and any of these products on my market in Ecuador. I think maybe I should start a store and to sell scooters or maybe to rent.
And how long ago was that?
That was like just before the COVID.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Before the pandemic.
Before the pandemic. And just I did my first importation in February before the pandemic, like 1 month before the pandemic. And I was planning to rent the scooters to look how the people accept the scooters in the city, how the people like the scooters, on if there are possibility to sell scooters and not only to rent. When I buy the first scooters, it's supposed that I buy copies of M365, a good copy with LG batteries. But 2 months or 3 months later, I found that
they didn't work.
Yeah. And I was thinking, what is that happening to me? So
I interviewed EUCer scooters, Scott Carbone from EUCer in Tampa Bay, Florida, and he went through the same issues too, and he ended up with the Segway 9-Bot Max.
Yeah.
And a couple of the reasons are because you don't have the complication of a suspension, but you have pneumatic tires.
Yeah.
Which is like a suspension in itself. But the pneumatic tires on the Segway 9-Bot Max, and I don't make any money from them. I don't get paid by any company.
I got it.
But they have this thick material on the inside.
Yeah.
It's like puncture resistant.
It's a very good tire on the
I wish other scooters would use that same tire.
Yeah.
But so after the M365 copy, you didn't like that too much. You switched to a different M365 copy?
No, not at all. When I started to have problems with that product that I bought, I just started to sell it because by the start of the pandemic, I couldn't rent the scooters.
Right.
So I started to sell it, but all the people start to have problems with my product. So I found a technique here in my city. He was living here like 3 years ago, and I met him, and he have a wheel. He have an EUC. So he said, I can check your scooter and I can fix them. So okay, yeah.
That's great.
So I start to talk with him, and the thing is that he is from Russia, and he worked in Russia like 6 years, working with electric bikes, and working with all motors, batteries.
Does he have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, he works.
I think I might have seen him before.
Yeah,
Russian guy. Yeah.
Yeah, but he has a very good channel. Where he worked doing a lot of stuff. He's Maxim.
Maxim, give him a plug. Tell people to watch his YouTube channel.
For sure. I will send you the name of his YouTube channel. He do a lot of works, not only scooters, not only UCs, he do a lot of works. Like he's a very technician that knows a lot. So he started to teach me and to tell me and say to me, okay, these scooters don't work for all days, maybe only for enjoy the moment and to go to the park, but no more than that. I said,
he taught you about batteries.
Yeah, and so he started to tell me all the things about the scooters and all the things about electric things, motors, batteries, more than I was watching on YouTube channel of ESG. So one thing was look the channel on the ESG channel. But another thing was that have that guide saying me that that thing is true and explain me why.
For example, a battery is not, you're not just paying the extra money because you can go further. I learned from Ginger on Wheels that actually it'll help you going up hills. You'll get better torque. Your battery will last longer. So I always tell people, if it's $50 more, $75 or $100 more, pay it.
Yeah.
You'll just be happier if you get the better battery.
With
right?
the time, you will be very happier. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. It's the Electric Scooter Podcast. IRE. ESP. ESP. ESP, y'all. ESP. ESP. ESP, y'all. ESP. ESP.
Francisco, tell us a little bit about the scooter scene in Ecuador. And also, I'm kind of interested in your balance of rental scooters to personally owned scooters that you sell. I myself, I like rental scooters only in that people try them and say, wow, this is awesome. And then they go buy one, because I really encourage people to purchase their own, because you get used to the throttle and the brake and you know how everything works, and I think it's just safer.
Yeah. Well, the thing that the thing after I decided to investigate and to learn a lot about scooters, I started to check what will be the best scooters to sell here in Ecuador. I was checking what brands was here in the country, and I was checking that was a lot of brands, but like white brands, like unknown brands. I couldn't find any of that brands on internet, even on page like Alibaba or something like that. I couldn't find that models.
I warn people, be careful of Alibaba.
So I found some of the scooters from that page, and some of the scooters that unknown scooters, like white brands. So I was thinking, so maybe I have to focus on what kind of scooters are the main markets. So I was checking the markets on Europe and in the States. So I was checking the best comments on the people on each model. And I started to work with two brands, well now with three brands, two brands of the scooters, like is eMove with Bora Motors and Mini Motors. And the third brand of another kind of product of unicycles is Kingston.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard of them. Jimmy Chang has some videos on Kingston. Does he ride a Kingston?
Yeah, he rides, like he says he tries some models of Kingston, but well, he tried a lot of models. Yeah.
Ginger on Wheels has a different brand. I can't remember what it's called. Sherman. Is it Sherman?
Sherman, yeah, it's Sherman. That is a company that was born of Vigos. They were workers of Vigo that separate the company, and so one company is better, and now one company is better.
Oh, okay. I see.
But well, the thing is that I started to sell better scooters here in the market, like eMove Cruiser, that I don't have anymore. eMove Cruisers. EMove Touring. Sold out, yeah.
Because they get like, I don't know, 60, 70, 80 kilometers, right, on a battery charge.
Yeah, and that models are very good. It's a very good scooter.
Yeah.
But the thing is, here in the market, most of the scooters are around 500 or 400. But that scooters is like very small scooters for very short rides.
Just around town.
Yeah. So I looking more for scooters to go around the city, like to use all the day, to be useful, right? So at first I just only decided to buy the lot of eMove Tourings to sell to all the people, but I think okay, not all the people will like the Touring, so I have to buy Cruisers and other models of Mini Motors, and the business was very good until July or September of this year, because the people they start to look of the scooters, and they start to buy a lot of cheap scooters, And
That's a bad idea.
Yeah, so they said, oh no, I bought a scooter, the scooter broke in 3 months or 2 months, and so the scooters are not good. So I will not buy any scooter. So I said, oh.
Usually what people will do that I've seen though, you buy a cheap one and then you realize I need to buy a good one.
Yeah.
But I guess there's some people that they don't like scooters now.
Because they think, okay, I bought now one, and that doesn't work. So why the expensive one will work better?
Right, but they do.
They do,
Of
yeah,
course.
they do.
And I notice your prices are very competitive.
Yeah.
How can you sell them at a good price? Because your price is not much difference. I didn't notice much difference from the United States, and you have to import them. How do you have a big tax that you have to pay the government, or how does that work?
Well, the thing that I started to sell in the same price, like international price.
Yeah.
With the international price, I refer to the same price as the States or the same price of the Europe. Is because here in Ecuador you will find all the products like with an extra price. For example,
automobiles are crazy expensive.
Automobiles is another kind of thing.
It's a different tax.
Yeah, it's a different tax.
Yeah.
But for example, phones or laptops or something like that, in the States, a phone that costs maybe 1,000 here will be 1,500.
Right, I've heard that.
So most of the people here that have the money to buy or they can afford a phone like that, they say, why I should buy a phone here and why 105,000 if I could go to the States and have vacations, I buy the same phone at that price.
Or maybe Peru. Electronics
Peru.
are cheaper in Peru, right?
Maybe in Peru. So I was thinking, okay, if I and start to sell a good scooter, it had to be a very good price. So I start to do deals with some companies like Boro Motors, like Mini Motors. So I have to pay a lot or to buy a lot of scooters to can sell in the same international price.
You get a lower price if you buy more. Okay. And what are you looking at selling next? What specific model of scooter do you think Ecuadorians will want?
Yeah, well, at the moment, most of the people are buying like cheaper scooters. And for now, I'm doing very well with the Move Touring, like commercially.
Sure.
It's very good with the Move Touring, but for the next year, I'm starting to plan to buy bigger scooters, like Thunders, like Storm.
Wolf Warrior,
yeah. That was a secret, but nobody in Ecuador knows.
Whoa, the secret's out. I blew it. You heard it first here on the Electric Scooter Podcast. The Cabo Wolf Warrior is coming to Ecuador. Sorry, I didn't know that was a secret, and I wasn't sure that he didn't want me to release the news, but there it is. Hot breaking off the presses, and that was Francisco Castro. If you'd like to check out his YouTube channel, which is like mine, just getting off the ground, go to Fran Manzana. Manzana is like an apple, I think. Manzana is apple. Fran, like Francisco, so FranManzana. It's called Fran Manzana Channel. All one word, Fran Manzana, and then channel. You don't have to speak Spanish to understand the beauty of the Galapagos and to appreciate him cruising around on an EUC electric unicycle, which I would bet money is the only EUC, if not ever ridden, in the Galapagos, at least ever filmed and put on YouTube, as far as you know. Well, it's already been a half an hour. It's over half an hour. I try to keep ESP episodes down to a half an hour, but I will try to get back at another time to give you Maxim, the Russian guy's channel, in case you want to check that out, because we mentioned that earlier. And I may have a reprise or continue a little more of the interview with Francisco Castro in the next international episode of ESP. Until next time, keep the shiny side up and the dirty side down.